I'm Azadeh Moshiri in Washington, and this is BBC World News America. The US makes their next move against the Houthis. That's as they continue to target ships trying to sail through the Red Sea. Concern from officials as China's population dips for the second year in a row, and that's after decades of working to control it. And a new cancer drug therapy is promising less side effects for children fighting leukemia. Welcome to the program. We begin with events in the Middle East where we're tracking a number of developing stories. The Houthis in Yemen have said they'll carry on attacking ships in the Red Sea, despite a US decision to redesignate them as global terrorists. In Gaza, medications start to come in for hostages as Israel continues their bombardment of the Strip. And Iran has admitted to carrying out a missile and drone attack on western Pakistan that left several people dead. But first, we start with the US redesignating the Yemen-based Houthi militants as a terrorist organization. National Security Advisor Jake Sullivan called for the group to stop its attacks on shipping vessels in the Red Sea. He said that in a speech at the World Economic Forum. The Houthis say they will continue until there is a ceasefire in Gaza, and Iran's support for the rebels is steady. At the same conference in Davos, Iranian Foreign Minister Hossein Amir-Abdollahian said Houthis who attacked ships in the Red Sea were acting in defense of the Palestinian people. The bigger picture for the West, attacks on merchant vessels since November have disrupted global shipping and created concerns that inflation could worsen. Well, with me is our State Department correspondent, Tom Bateman. Tom, thank you so much for your time. So what does this designation actually achieve? Right, Tom, thank you so much for your time. We're going to stay with the story and we're going to talk to Hisham Al-Omesi now. He's a senior Yemen advisor for the European Institute of Peace, and he's also worked with the State Department in the past. Hisham, it's good to talk to you again, and thank you again for your time. Now, do you think that this is going to deter the Houthis from their attacks? Because this is the next step that the government has taken after the strikes, isn't it? Hisham, thank you so much for your time once again. Hisham Al-Omesi.
Thank you for having me, Azadeh.
Now, Pakistan is recalling its ambassador to Tehran. That's after Iran carried out a deadly cross-border drone strike. It's the latest in a series of attacks by Iran into neighboring countries. Tehran's semi-official Tasnim news agency says Iran's Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps carried out the attack in a mountainous region roughly 50 kilometers from the Iranian border. Now, this footage you're seeing now was shared with the BBC's Pashto service by a freelance journalist in the region. It appears to show the aftermath in Balochistan. Iran says it was targeting the headquarters of a violent separatist group called Jaish al-Adl, which seeks independence for part of Iran's east. Officials in Pakistan say 2 children were killed in the strike. And this week, Tehran also carried out missile strikes on Iraq and Syria. Now, Iran's Foreign Minister Hossein Amir-Abdollahian says the strike was not against Pakistan, but rather against Jaish al-Adl, what he called an Iranian terrorist group in Pakistan. He added that Iran has repeatedly raised the issue with its neighbors. But in Islamabad, the foreign ministry spokesperson called the attack unprovoked and accused Tehran of violating Pakistan's sovereignty. A US spokesperson also condemned the attack, while China, an ally of both nations, appealed for calm. Our correspondent in Pakistan, Caroline Davies, reports. Caroline Davies there. Well, fierce fighting continued today in Khan Yunis, south of the Gaza Strip. The Hamas-run health ministry in Gaza says that 165 people were killed and 250 people injured in the past 24 hours. Thousands of Palestinians are moving towards Rafah near the border with Egypt in a bid to find safety away from the fighting. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu said that Israel is fighting on all fronts in a war that would last many more months until victory is achieved. Meanwhile, 2 Qatari military planes carrying medicines for hostages in Gaza have arrived in Egypt. The shipment will be transferred to the territory under an agreement between Israel and Hamas, which will also see increased aid for Palestinian civilians in Gaza. Well, joining me to discuss that is James Smith. He recently returned from Gaza as an emergency doctor for medical aid for Palestinians. Now, James, thank you so much for your time. I know we spoke recently just when you'd gotten back. So I wonder what your reaction is to the news that more aid will be sent to Gaza. I'm afraid we've run out of time, but James, thank you so much for joining the program again.
Thank you.
Now, China's population fell for the second year in a row. It's due to a steep increase in the total number of deaths, many linked to the COVID pandemic, and another fall in the birth rate. The trend towards an increasingly aging population is of concern to the Chinese government, which needs people of working age to drive the economy and pay taxes. Megan Owen has more on China's historic efforts to control its population. That was the BBC's Megan Owen. Well, let's turn to some important news around the world. King Charles will go into hospital next week to be treated for an enlarged prostate. Buckingham Palace says the King's condition is benign and he will undergo what's described as a corrective procedure. His public engagements will be postponed immediately. The Princess of Wales was admitted to hospital on Tuesday where she had planned abdominal surgery. Kensington Palace says the procedure was successful and took place at the London Clinic, a private hospital in central London. The Princess is unlikely to return to public duties until after Easter. Now, it's a problem that impacts people all over the world: childhood cancer. In the UK, children suffering from leukemia are starting to be treated with a drug that is much kinder to their bodies than chemotherapy, and it can be administered at home. That's what our health reporter Michelle Roberts explains. It means the children need to spend far less time in hospital. And the Food and Drug Administration gave full approval to Belina for use in both adults and children in the United States this past June. Now remember, there's much more on our website, bbc.com/news. But please do keep watching. Thank you for watching World News America.
Hello there. There's likely to be some travel disruption over the next few days.